Today we are going to take a 700-mile road trip in this R1S with that rooftop tent. We're going to talk about efficiency and drag and how all that works, and we might just stop off at a little national park along the way.
Stick around. Oh man, I almost fell.
One more time.
This should be enough gap.
Well, hello everybody, welcome back to Rivian Dad channel. I've got some exciting things planned for the next few days. We are on our way to Overland Expo in Flagstaff, Arizona. Right now, I've just hopped in the R1S and packed it all up, which took a little bit of time, but it was pretty exciting because this is the first time we've taken the R1S out on a trip. I'm gonna be picking up Oliver, the two of us are going together. And I added a rooftop tent this time. Of course, the main issue with that is that I don't know what's gonna happen with the range. You know, when I first bought the R1S, that was one of the main concerns. Can we put a rooftop tent on and is it gonna affect things? And as you know, and I hate to say it, but this is the Achilles heel of electric vehicles, in my opinion, is the aerodynamic hit on range when you add things, pull a trailer, and so on. So speaking of that, we do have some good data to use as a reference point here. Last year, Ryan and Becca drove their R1T. At the same time, we drove our R1T down to Overland Expo last year. And we got some really good data there. So for the first half of the trip, we both drove without a trailer or anything like that. Exactly the same setup, very close anyway. Our efficiency was very similar. Mine was just a little over 2, his was just slightly under 2. But anyway, it was about a 15% difference in our efficiency up to that point, with mine being a tiny bit better. However, in Albuquerque, we picked up a teardrop bean trailer, which was about 1,600 pounds, and we drove from there to Flagstaff. It was very windy and we got a huge amount of hit in range in our R1T, but mine went down very significantly. And as you can see from the data that we kept, the first leg, my range went down by about 41% compared to his, the efficiency that is. And that was a pretty big hit. Then we both decided, you know what, I need more distance, so let's slow down and see how that goes. So after we recharged on the next leg, we slowed down to average about 65, and our range difference was exactly the same, also 41% drop from me. At that point, we split up. Ryan and Becca went ahead so that they could get to Flagstaff quicker, and I stayed going slower. And you notice that we still had a pretty significant difference in range or in efficiency, but that difference went down to about 30%, mainly because he was driving really fast and averaged a pretty good clip of 75 miles an hour, and I was averaging about 55 to 65. So there's probably not a super great comparison here, since it's apples to oranges a little bit, in that this is an R1S, the other one was an R1T, so we're not really sure. But I do feel like I have a pretty good sense of what this vehicle can do on the highway at speed, and it's going to be usually around 2 miles per kilowatt hour average. So I'm expecting this to be a tiny bit less. So anyway, I'm about to pull up to Oliver's school to pick him up, and we're gonna head south from there. Stay tuned. So this route is telling us to get to Albuquerque, we have to stop 2 times. Probably gonna modify that a little bit, but hey, I'm happy that it actually shows me the stops here and the amount of time. They're both Electrify America stops, because we've been there before. So let's roll. One other thing, a little bit about the sound upstairs, or up above. Oh, hey, there's a Rivian just drove by. Hey there. The rooftop tent does make some noise. Yesterday when I was driving, I tested it without any kind of crossbar, without the crossbars, with the crossbars only, and with the rooftop tent. There was a little bit of a difference. You can hear it right now. You can't necessarily hear it very loudly. It's not annoying at all, but it's definitely there. Okay, we arrived in Trinidad, our first stop. Perfectly ventless drive. It was fine, a little bit of rain. Our efficiency has been really good. It's been about 2 miles per kilowatt hour. So that's actually really good quality driving, even with the rooftop tent. We seem to have a little bit of a rain problem. Well, not really a problem. We need the rain, but man, it's raining hard here. And yet, because of the glass roof, we can see the tent up above and see that it's doing okay. This rain brings up one of my favorite features of the R1T, which is, or the R1S and R1T, which is the auto windshield wipers. Honestly, it took me a long time before I even knew how they work, because I never really touched them. I just let them do their thing. And sure enough, like when it starts raining, they start going, and when it rains harder, they go faster. It just works. It's nice. My wife and I have a saying, you gotta go through the storm, because sometimes on the other side it's really beautiful. Don't let the storm scare you off. So, we're going through the storm.
I've never heard that saying before.
So we're going about 60 miles an hour, and partly that's because we're in a fierce headwind. And so I slowed down, but the wind noise from the tent is significant. And there's other thing that's happening too. When the wind kind of crosses, like if I'm passing near a semi, this glass, and I can feel it here, it kind of bumps up and down and gives you like a drum effect where it sort of thumps a little bit. So that's a little bit of annoying, and I'm not really concerned, but I imagine if it was really extreme, it could potentially damage this glass.
Oh no, it's this one.
I know, this one's like in the middle of nowhere.
No, those bathrooms are outside.
Oh no. Sunset.
Very beautiful.
All right, we're back on the road again. Gonna hit our favorite bakery and then on to Flagstaff.
On the road again.
So we're standing in the middle of the Crystal Forest here in the Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona. These trees, well, these rocks were once trees 220 million years ago. They are so amazingly beautiful. This area was used to be a part of Pangaea when everything was all one big continent. And this specific area would have been the same latitude as about Costa Rica is today. And it drifted north, but these trees were here 220 million years ago, died, covered with sediment, and now eroded down so that we can enjoy them today. And man, they are crazy beautiful. Okay, well, we're back from Overland Expo West. I've had a minute to run a couple of numbers. We've had a great time. We have done a couple videos, so please check those out. Oliver and I had a lot of bonding time. Rosie did a great job on the drive. It was really a lot of fun. Okay, so for the big conclusion. Well, I can't really make a big conclusion. I mean, let's be clear. These are two different drives on two different days from two different vehicles. So the only conclusions that I can draw are just anecdotal, but I do think that there is something here. So for the first drive between Denver and Albuquerque, we weren't driving together last year. Ryan was driving his R1T without a rooftop tent. And he drove a lot faster than I did this year in this R1S with the rooftop tent. As you can see, our efficiency numbers that I recorded this year compared to his efficiency numbers last year were very similar, and only about 1.5%. And mine was actually a little bit better than his, and I chalk that up to the fact that he was driving quite a bit faster. So for the second leg from Albuquerque to Grants, last year Ryan drove it in a 1.84 miles per kilowatt hour. This year with the rooftop tent, the R1S was 1.7 miles per kilowatt hour. That's 8.2% less efficient. And then from Grants to Gallup, we also drove the same route at the same speeds. I set the cruise control the exact same speed from last year, which was at 65 for that route. We went, Ryan had 2.32 and I had 2.14, which was also 8.4%. Yes, the efficiency both went up, but our difference was still 8.4%, which I think is a pretty telling number. Yeah, I can't exactly make scientific conclusions here, but I can imply that there was something there. So if I can draw a couple conclusions here, I would draw these two. First of all, the rooftop tent does affect the range, only not quite as much as I had expected. It's really roughly 8% was what I measured here. So maybe 5 to 10% if we do some really scientific measurements on this one. Not a lot, not a lot. And then the second conclusion is actually really more interesting to me, that speed affects the range more than having a rooftop tent. So you can see the difference in the speeds actually change the range differences quite a bit more than the difference in having a rooftop tent versus not having a rooftop tent. So I think those are some pretty solid conclusions. We'll have to do more tests, but that's for next time. Thanks so much for joining me and for following along on this adventure. There's lots more to come, so stick around. Bye-bye. Seriously? It's Wigwam Hotels. Look familiar?